Welcome to the Winner's Circle, a drag racing podcast. I'm your host, Leroy Leese. Our goal is to help you win more rounds at the track by sharing tips and tricks. This is episode 4, brought to you by DragTracker.com, an online logbook serving the racing community through tools and technology. For this episode, we're going to cover 4 things you can do to affect or change your vehicle rollout. But before we dig in, I want to encourage you to check us out at DragTracker.com. On the right side of the website is a voicemail link. If you click that link, you can leave me a voicemail and share stories or questions for a future topic on the show. Also, to leave a comment about this episode, go to dragtracker.com/podcast and click on episode 4. There you'll find a transcript with links and notes from the show. We also put out a YouTube version of every show, so check us out at youtube.com/dragtracker and subscribe to our channel. We update it with podcasts and other videos, so check it out. Another way you can find us is we're now on Stitcher Radio. So if you use Stitcher Radio as your podcast player, or if you use iTunes, we're all these places. So feel free to rate us. If you rate us, it helps us get more visible to other drag racers. If anybody searches for drag racing, that'll help us show up there. Also, I wanted to tell you about another drag racing podcast, if you weren't aware, the WFO Radio podcast. They cover great NHRA footage, and it's just really interesting. I really enjoy listening to it, especially when I'm driving to work or whatever, where I can just get amped up about the upcoming race season. So check them out. All right, so 4 ways to adjust your vehicle rollout. Now, if you run a delay box, you're probably not worried about this at all. You set your car up to react and make sure that it's consistent every time, and that's probably good enough for you. So I might not actually be talking to you for this episode. What I'm talking to are the foot brake guys who every time they go up, they're either cutting a minus 010 light or they're constantly cutting an 070 light. You would ask yourself, what can I do? I can't react faster. Maybe when it gets dark, I react a little faster. But I feel like I've found a groove. I don't want to mess it up. What can I do to the vehicle to change the reaction time? Well, you've got some things that you can do. So if you think consistently that you want to slow the car down a little bit, I would recommend letting some air out of the front tires. If you let air out, it's going to squish a little bit. It's going to come down. It's actually going to increase the overall diameter as far as how it sits in the staging beams. And it'll take longer to roll out of the staging beams. It also acts as a little bit of a suspension change because it's springier, so it takes more time for it to fill up that space as the car moves and get out of the way of the staging beams. So tire pressure is the first way that I'm going to say you can change the vehicle rollout or vehicle reaction time. Another way is to change your staging or launch RPM. So a lot of times what I'll do, it depends on the track, it depends on how I can tell my body's reacting, the car's reacting, but I will change the staging RPM from 2500 or 2400, and I'll come down a little bit at night because I feel like I react fast and I want the vehicle to slow down a little bit. So I'll change it. If I'm running 2500 during the daytime, I might take it down to 2300 staging RPM. So staging RPM is the second way to affect your vehicle rollout. Just drop it down a little bit, you'll be a little slower. Or, up until you're getting up against a torque converter, you could actually go up if you needed to increase your rollout. Now this will start to affect things like 60 foot, and it may affect, it'll probably affect your ET. If you change this number too radically because you're you're closer to getting into your RPM band. When you look at how long it takes for the car to ramp up in those RPM as the torque converter's tightening up, it doesn't take long. So this could be negligible, but it's something to keep in mind. If you find that when you do make these changes, then the car not only reacts faster, but also your ET is changing, maybe this isn't an option. Another option is to change the size of the tires. So we bought from Costco or from Sam's Club an actual bigger radial street tire to try out, and we found that it was better. It was doing better as far as my reaction times. When we were running a Goodyear Front Runner tire, which looks great on the car, had the weld wheel 5-star on there. It looked awesome, looked like a pro stock car, but my reactions were just too close to going red too often. So there were driver inconsistencies there that we had to work out, but we just felt like it was too close to the edge of being having too fast of a vehicle rollout. So we put on the big radials, and I red light very seldom now. So, you know, that's one of those things where you compromise how the car looks, maybe, just to get it so it's more consistent. And then finally, deep staging. So, you know, when you roll into the staging beams and the pre-stage lights actually go out, that's what's known as a deep stage. You don't have to be deep staged to just do a deeper stage. You can roll 2 inches and still not have rolled out of the pre-stage beams, but you'll be deeper staged than you would be if they just twinkled. So that's something to think about too. The only reason I don't like doing that a lot is because it tends to be difficult to be consistently the same amount deep staged. If you know you're not turning the light off, it becomes a guessing game. And as I told you in episode 3, I really like to have a very consistent pattern from round to round, week to week, track to track, so that it doesn't matter where I'm at, I feel like my system keeps working. So if I've decided to start deep staging by rolling in just a little bit, like once the light twinkles and I let off the brake for, you know, a split second to let it back on, and hopefully I've moved up 1 or 2 inches, the same 2 inches every time, it's difficult to reproduce that run after run after run. So the only time I'll do that kind of thing is if I've just, you know, done back-to-back rounds, I'm running in 2 classes, and I'm just consistently not hitting the tree, but I don't want to change, you know, my mindset of how I'm doing the tree. I'll just bump it in just a little bit more. But before that, I mean, if I'm going rounds and my tree isn't where I want it to be, I'll probably change the staging RPM first. Then I'll tell one of my crew guys to either let air out of the front tires or put air in, something like that. And then I'll consider, if I'm still not seeing the results I want, then I'll consider changing how deeply I stage. But I kind of look at that as a last resort. So I'm kind of curious if anybody out there has any other ways to affect their vehicle rollout. You know, one of the things I was thinking is maybe helpful is if you wanted to change suspension components. I personally am not a big fan of that, not only because of the expense and effort it takes to do that, but it could start affecting your ability to have consistent traction. You know, if you've got a ladder bar set up, 4-link, whatever, that's kind of, you know, you finally got it dialed in, you don't want to go messing with springs to try and affect your vehicle rollout. You would probably want to change some of these other things first. But yeah, what are things that you've done? What are things you've noticed affect it? I mean, there's something to be said for feeling so confident that you're reacting the same every week, and you can make a consistent a change to the car to help bring your consistency band, you know, down closer to that perfect light. Even when I've taken some time off and come back to it and I start hitting it 070s, 060s, sometimes I make one of these changes just to account for me getting back into the groove at the beginning of a season. And we'll find that once I'm middle of the season, that I can start going back to what I had as far as vehicle rollout adjustments. But anyway, I'm just curious, what have you changed? What have you seen done? So if you want to leave a video response on our YouTube channel or leave a voicemail on the website, that'd be cool. I'd like to hear that. All right, so I want to give a shout out to Wade, who we used a picture of his Super B, 71 Super B, as the thumbnail for this video. And thanks for letting us use a picture of your car. Looks like your wheel's up. I wonder if there's any trick to affecting vehicle rollout when you're pulling a wheelie like that. Anyway, it looks great. Also wanted to give credit to Steve, the track photographer at Thompson Raceway Park. We'll do a shout out to Thompson Raceway Park up there in Ohio. Looks like you got some good stuff going on. Track photographer looks like he does a good job. The racetrack looks great. Lots of exciting things happening. So check him out. And I'm sure Wade's there racing on a regular basis. We just added some tracks to the DragTracker.com track database. So that takes me to the next cool thing. If you want your car to be featured as the thumbnail, we're taking requests. So we would love to have a picture of your car. We of course have to make sure we have permission to use it. So we'll just need to get in touch with whoever the photographer was, or if it was your brother's cousin whatever. We just want to make sure they're okay with us using their picture. But go ahead and send it to me, podcast@DragTracker.com, and we'll see if we can get your car included. We need a high-def image, so if you could make sure it's a high-quality, high-def picture, that'll be great. But email me if you have any questions about it, and we'll take care of it. So that'll be cool. Okay, so you know, I've been asking for users to submit stories, and we got this one at an event I was at a few weeks ago. This is Steve telling us about something that happened with his trailer. And the reason this is interesting, and I wanted to use this story this time, is because our next episode, episode 5, is going to be about trailer safety and garage safety and how to protect all these assets that are ours as racers. You know, we want to protect the good stuff, so we'll have some tips and tricks, stuff that you may not have thought of as far as your trailer and your garage, and to keep them safe and secure. And anyway, so this is a good segue into getting you ready for episode 5, and we'll let Steve do the talking. Trailer becoming detached and passing you down the road. Is that a true? You remember that story?
Yeah, it was empty.
Okay. Yeah.
I had loaned my trailer to a neighbor who they race in NHRA, and they have a 40-foot trailer. Okay. They needed a small trailer to take his. He has a Dodge Coronet 440, I believe it was, and he took it to have some work done on, and couldn't get it in with his huge trailer, so he wanted to borrow an open trailer. So I lent him my open trailer, and I go, and he calls me up and he says, you know, the hitch ball isn't so good on that because I lost the trailer. So it actually became detached for him too. It came detached, came up and ended his truck, and knocked the headlights out of this classic car he was towing.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, so he lives almost within sight of me. So I thought, okay, I'll put it on there. It's okay to go that distance.
Sure.
So I go down the back road that I'm going, and I hit this little bump, and all of a sudden, the trailer goes zooming right behind me.
Oh my God!
There was this, and it had rained. It was really muddy, and honest to goodness, it went stuck right in the mud in the side of the road.
Right. Wow.
And I went into panic. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I pulled over and.
Oh my God.
Some guy that lived right on the road there, he come by with his pickup truck, and he hooked a tow rope, put it on, and then we just safety wired it on, and I limped it home.
Man, yeah, the other 300 feet to your house.
Yeah, like a half mile.
Yeah.
If that.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I had a new coupler put on that trailer, and then I got rid of that trailer, and then.
Well, now Jim's using it, right?
No, that was a different trailer.
That's what made me think of it.
That was a totally different.
So anyway, yeah, that was a good time there. Stories. Yeah, well, we'll dig in the next episode, but I wanted to share that story. Again, if you have any stories, send them to me. Just tell them to me over the voicemail. Send them to me via email. I know, I interviewed a couple of racers, and everybody got tongue-tied to share stories. This doesn't have to be, the best story ever about going 320 miles an hour and the car crashes or something like that. I'm just interested in hearing, something that was unexpected that happened. Certainly me telling a story about hitting a goat on the racetrack, that doesn't happen every day. I don't expect to always get stories like that, but in that case, Steve's trailer became detached and actually passed him going down the road. It's kind of a crazy thing, Thank goodness nobody got hurt, and they, he had to get it fixed, and he wouldn't have known if that wouldn't have happened that way. I mean, it's lucky he didn't have a car on it, his car, race car. Anyway, I'm interested in those kind of stories to share, so we can have fun and reflect on some of the cool things that have happened to us all over the years. All right, well, thanks a lot for hanging out with us. I hope that was informative. I hope you have some good tips on how to affect your vehicle's rollout or your vehicle reaction time. Feel free to hit us back, on, like I said, with any questions or comments on the show notes. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm having a blast. I mean, we're up to episode 4. Can't believe it. So much fun. And it's been fun to use this to get to talk to other racers about what they're doing, what's going on. There's some cool discussions going on the website, so check it out. And engage us on Facebook. If you have a question there, that'd be great. We'll answer this stuff and drum up some community around this and see where it takes us. Yeah. So anyway, race safe, race to win, and Take care. Thanks.